Hey, it's the Empire, Geoboxing Empire, Baxter Boxing. Now, man, big news. My boy, David Benavidez, man, caught COVID. And this is a really big deal because David Benavidez, man, has been always been the biggest star at 168, man. If you actually look at Caleb Plant and David Benavidez and they fought on the same day, you would assume that David Benavidez is the bigger star. Why? Well, because he beat top guys like Andre Dirrell and, Art Anthony. I get him confused all the time. They're twin brothers, right? Anthony or Andre Dirrell, one of the Dirrell brothers, right? He knocked him out. And understand that Dave Benavidez is a big star, Mexican, two-time WBC world champion. He lost the title and got it twice, but he's undefeated, never lost his title inside the ring. It was more outside ring activities that made him lose his belt. But that all being said, man, my boy Dave Benavidez, man, he was in the talks of fighting Canelo Alvarez, man. Canelo Alvarez, a big fighter, a big deal. And, understand that Canelo Alvarez was not trying to fight a top fighter as far as the WBC goes, right? He wasn't trying to fight Dave Benavidez when he was a champion, right? He got, basically, Canelo Alvarez got a vacant title, right? And he by not beating a champion. It was a vacant title at the time, and that's how Canelo Alvarez got his belt. That being said, boxing's in need of a Mexican rivalry, man. We haven't had one of those since Canelo Alvarez versus Chavez Jr. And that was a fight that should have happened when they're both undefeated, but Chavez took an L to Sergio Martinez. That was the fight that basically that was the end of Chavez taking the sport semi-seriously. The guy was never really too disciplined, right? He came in, he always had weight problems. Elite level fighter, but had weight problems. So that being said, Chavez Jr. and Canelo Alvarez fought, and Canelo Alvarez got through him, right? Another fight that was supposed to be a really big deal was Victor Ortiz versus Canelo Alvarez, right? Victor Ortiz knocked out Andre Bisberto, and that was a really big deal. And he fought Floyd Mayweather, right? Floyd Mayweather got the decision by knockout. He knocked the guy out, right? It was one of the most controversial knockouts in recent history. It was when Victor Ortiz headbutt Floyd Mayweather, and then the ref said, "Let's go." It looked the other way. Floyd hit him with a two-piece, left hook straight right, and then Ortiz was basically out, right? A lot of people didn't count that as a loss because they said, it was a cheap shot, yada, yada, yada. Okay, that all being said, man, Victor Ortiz, he was supposed to come back and it was supposed to be a showcase fight against Josecito Lopez, but he didn't get the win, right? He got his jaw broke. Left hook, I believe, right? So that being said, Canelo Alvarez ended up fighting Josecito Lopez. He didn't fight Victor Ortiz. That was supposed to be a big Mexican showdown, right? Victor Ortiz was supposed to be that guy, the next guy to beat Canelo Alvarez. Now that being said, man, Canelo Alvarez has been vocal about not fighting Mexicans. He says, I don't fight my own kind. I don't fight Mexicans. That's what Canelo Alvarez said, and that sounds nice and all, but it basically leaves no room for any other fighter to come up behind you and to really give him a spotlight. A lot of Mexicans become great by fighting each other. If you look at any of the Mexicans in history, they all top guys fight each other eventually, right? Look at Andy Ruiz when he fought Chris Arreola recently, right? That was a big deal. A lot of people didn't think it was a big deal, but if you follow the heavyweight division, you knew that Chris Arreola was supposed to be that guy, right? He was in a road to stardom. He just couldn't get past Bermane Stiverne, right? But that was an exciting fight. Mexican fights, they tend to deteriorate into mano a mano, draw the line in the sand type kind of fights where they're just banging it out. There is no defense, there is no boxing. It becomes a war. They just go crazy on each other, right? And that's what I like to see, man. I want to see that again, and I haven't seen it again since Chris Arreola versus Andy Ruiz, and I want to see it again versus Canelo Alvarez and Dave Benavidez. But who knows, man? There's a lot of weird things going on in boxing. Does Canelo Alvarez want to fight a fighter who tests positive for a virus? Who knows, man? A lot of these fighters make a lot of excuses for a lot of things. Could that be one of the excuses not fight him? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? So we're going to see how this whole thing plays out, man. I haven't heard Canelo weigh in on it. I haven't heard any good get well wishes. I haven't heard I'll see you next year, champ, or, none of that stuff. So, there's no any kind of connection between Dave Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez outside of boxing. You know, Canelo Alvarez has never really said any ill intent type things to Dave Benavidez, but Dave Benavidez has tried to call out Canelo one time, and he said basically the fans are too freaking crazy, right? He called him out one time, and Dave Benavidez got a lot of backlash because Canelo Alvarez has an extreme fan base, right? And they take it very, very seriously. So it's up to Dave Benavidez. If he really wants a showdown, a rivalry with Canelo Alvarez, he's going to have to make it such that he imposes his own Canelo Alvarez. You know, power is not given, it's taken. And if he wants to do that, then he's going to have to trash Canelo. You know, he's going to have to do that if he wants the rivalry. Or he's going to have to do something that maybe fight a mutual opponent. Maybe Dave Benavidez needs to fight a Kovalev. That'd be insane. You know, and maybe he needs to fight some of these Eastern European fighters like a Liam Smith or Liam Williams, right? Or one of these fighters that Canelo Alvarez already fought for one of these titles, right? I think Dave Benavidez, if he wants to get the Canelo fight, he thinks this is going to be just handed to him. The guy needs to understand he needs to be more forward and going forward on as far as getting the Canelo fight. Fight mutual opponents like Canelo fought. If you gotta bring these guys up or pay them extra to come up and wait, man, do what you gotta do, man. But Dave Benavidez needs to get himself in the mix, man. He needs to get himself in the mix. I think he has a bright future. He just needs to have some, forethought. Fighting, staying 168 is great and all, but yeah, man, you might have to go north to 175, man. Fight Kovalev. Do some of these big things, man. You can't just stay, because he's a big 168 fighter. He had weight problems. He missed weight before. That's why he was stripped of the title. It's not like he can't make 175. He's a 175 fighter. You look at him in the ring against these 168 fighters, he's towering over them. So I like Dave Benavidez, man. I think he's a great fighter, but he needs to take his career in his own hands, man. Takes the sport of boxing seriously. Take some chances, man, because no one's gonna fault you for fighting Canelo Alvarez's opponents, but you gotta do it such in a way that makes Canelo look bad. The only way you can do that is beating Canelo's opponents better, and then calling them out, and then keep doing it, and say whatever you do, I do, champ. Whatever you eat, I eat, champ. Take a playbook from my boy Shannon Briggs. Take a playbook from my boy, man. Whatever you do, I do, champ. You know what I mean? Whatever you do, I do, champ. But anyway, man, let me not ask for about it, though. Do you guys think this is going to hinder Benavidez' career? I think he still has a chance to become a star. As far as, being delayed to fight with Jose Uzcategui, I think he can still do it, man. But anyway, let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. It's the Empire. It's your Basket Empire. Peace.